people will blindly ignore blatant flaws in teams because they have a superstar and say, well, he can just get it done. And then they inevitably end up losing. And then that superstar will get blamed for not getting it done. We can clearly see, unless you're blind, this team is superbly flawed. But if we just say, well, they have Giannis, they can figure it out, and then they don't figure it out because the team is flawed, they're going to say Giannis didn't get it done. And then Giannis is going to get blamed. And then Giannis is going to, well, Giannis isn't that good. If he was that good, he would have figured it out. And that's how you end up in a situation where you start blaming players for things that aren't their fault.
But Giannis should be blamed because
that's the problem.
No,
you just said you know the team's flawed, but they have Giannis, so we should believe. And then when Giannis doesn't do it, oh well, we need to blame Giannis.
Because if they go and win, then Giannis gets all the credit, right?
And so he shouldn't get all the credit.
Okay, but then if you fail, then you should also take most of the blame. It's like the NFL.
You shouldn't get all the credit, and you shouldn't get all the blame. Why do you have to do both?
Say it again.
You shouldn't get all the credit when you win. That's stupid. You shouldn't get all the blame when you lose.
That's the reality of the situation. But that's how it is. That's how it is.
And you're participating in it. So you're being stupid.
Well, wait a minute, Mars.
Wait a minute, realistic because when you have a top 5 player, they usually get all the blame, and then when things go right, they usually get all the credit.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you?
So Mars,
it doesn't have to make sense. That's just how sports media works. That's literally how it works. When things go right for the Lakers, Bron gets all the praise. When things go bad, it's should Bron leave? Like it's why. This is how it goes when you're a player of a certain caliber. That's just the expectations that come with it. I'm just trying to tell you.
But Mars, wait a minute. When you have a team that is flawed, and in the process of them being flawed, their best player can mask their flaws, and he can actually throw them on his back and take them to the championship and actually win it. Would that not make that player more spotlighted because he can mask their flaws? I mean, I know it works both ways because if this player is that good that he can mask a lot of their flaws and they can win despite all of these flaws we talk about, doesn't that make him even more highlighted?
Yeah, I'm not saying you don't give Giannis a lion's share of the credit. Like if Giannis, because if their defense is that cooked and then Giannis starts playing the best help side rim protection you've ever seen, giving up nothing at the rim after his whole team gets blown by, and he's breaking up every single play, and then on offense, him and Dame in the pick and roll is unstoppable in it. We can ignore the fact that Brook Lopez looks like a shell of himself on both sides of the ball. Sure, give Giannis credit, whatever. But the idea that just because how it's always been is how it's always been, so we shouldn't acknowledge how stupid it is dumb. Like, there's so many analogies I could point to prove the idea of, well, it's always been this way, so I guess we just have to keep going that way, is stupid. Historically, that's stupid. Take it away from basketball. The consequences of that line of thinking is stupid. The idea that, well, it's always been that way, so why should it change? Is dumb.
Don't be extreme.
I'm gonna let your imaginations run wild.
That's how it is, bro.
You could apply that to. Think of situations you could apply the line of thinking of, it's always been that way, so we shouldn't change it. Just think about all the consequences of that ideology.
Think in general life like settings, then yes, those are
stupid in basketball too.
No, it's not. No, it's
not. Why not?
When you're a top 5 player, there's a level of expectation that's placed on you. When things go wrong, I'm not saying that it's fair, but when things go wrong, you're gonna get blamed.
You're the best player on the team.
Oh my god, this doesn't make sense.
In what sport?
Your argument is we've given people all the credit before, so we need to keep doing the same thing now. It was stupid when they were doing it for Magic Johnson and Kareem and Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. It was stupid when they were doing it for MJ and Kobe and Shaq. It was stupid when they were doing it for LeBron. It was stupid when they were doing it for Steph. And it's stupid now when we're doing it with Giannis. It's been stupid for 60 years. The idea that because it's been happening for 60 years, it should just keep happening because that's just how it's been, is dumb.
But the conversation isn't if it's stupid or right. I'm just telling you what it is. Nobody.
And I'm asking you, how do you feel about it? And you're doing the same thing. So if you don't think it's stupid, I'm going to disagree with you. If you agree it's stupid,
but I think that it's fair. That's how it is. Again, the top players, but it's fair because the top players usually get a lion's share of the credit. So I think it's only right.
Okay,
for them
I'm
to get
gonna ask this again. Will, do you think it makes sense for the players to get all the credit and all the blame?
I think no, not all, not 100%, but a majority, yes.
Okay, so because
without Giannis on that Bucks team,
you contribute
then you're not in the conversation to win anything.
So you contribute to this model that's been going on of you give the player the best player the majority of the credit and you give them the majority of the blame when they lose. You're an active participant in that ideology.
Yeah, because it's fair. It's fair to me.
Okay, so forget what the media do. Forget all of them. We don't care about them. We're talking about us. You think that's fine, right?
It's fair, yes, because if they win,
I think hold
on, wait. But if they win, Giannis gets most of the credit. He's the most talking points. So if they lose, I think he should also get most of the blame. You can't get most of the credit, but then when things go wrong,
you're missing my point.
Oh, is this false? No,
I'm saying he should get neither. And I'm saying he should get neither. I'm saying when they win, you don't give him most of the credit, and when they lose, you don't give him most of the blame. It's neither. I'm saying
so let me ask you a question. All right, so let me ask you a question. In what team sport do the best players not generally get a majority of the credit when things go right and a majority of the disapproval when things go wrong? And what team sport?
I'm gonna answer. Yeah, I'm gonna answer.
Okay.
In no team sport that I know of, none. And guess what I'm gonna say? In every single team sport that acts the same way as the NBA, I call it stupid. We spoke about the Super Bowl a couple days ago. I said it's stupid to give Patrick Mahomes the lion's share of the credit when he doesn't even play defense, and he wouldn't have won the Super Bowl if that guy didn't miss a field goal. It's stupid to me that all the media outlets and people like you and like other people who do it will just give one player the majority of the credit because they're the best player, ignoring everything else that happens that allows them to be able to be successful. I say that all the time. It's not just about basketball. It's about every sport. I wholeheartedly believe it makes no sense.
Mars, right quick. Patrick Mahomes won that Super Bowl.
Good for him.
Proceed.
So did Travis Kelce.
Thank you, Mars. Travis Kelce.
But here's the thing, though.
So did the Chiefs.
Mahomes is not the Chiefs quarterback. They're not in the Super Bowl.
All of them.
Patrick Mahomes.
And you can do that, and I'm gonna call it stupid.
Quarterback. They don't even make it there. So he has to.
And without the defense, they don't make it there. Once again, my whole.
So Mars, if we're doing that, no. So if that's the truth, then Mars, then your logic doesn't work because 1 minute you're telling me, 1 minute you're individualizing basketball, where you're telling me that this guy is better at basketball than this guy, which matters.
Which players are better than others, and also
which matters.
The better player doesn't always beat the other better player.
Absolutely. However, that does matter when you're trying to win. That does matter when you're trying to win, which means that we individualize this guy who's the most important in us winning. So when you do something like that, if you're telling me that, Mars, then we can't individualize players. We can't do that.
You can be the best player to ever play. If you're playing with me, you, Ops, and Will, you're not winning. Like
we're getting the ring.
How we don't understand that.
First of all, Mars,
respect me. If you have the 2017 Golden State Warriors, and then you have LeBron James with 4 me's, he ain't gonna win. That doesn't mean he's not the best player. That would be stupid. I don't understand how we can clearly see. I can clearly understand. Player A is better than player B.
Right.
Cool. Player A's team is worse than player B's team. That does not mean player B is now better than player A because player B's team beat player A's team.
Wait, but why are you talking about who's better?
I get that part.
He just said I'm individualizing basketball and understand players are better. So I'm addressing that point by saying the better player can be the better player, win, lose, or draw.
So let me ask you this question in Mars. So if player B, his team is inferior to player A, but player B's team beat player A's team, how are we talking about player B?
Well, it depends on how well everyone plays on the team.
One more time, Mars. More than likely, player B had a lot to do with them winning. More than likely he did.
You know what? This is perfect. This right here is the reason why Jimmy Butler got too much praise last year. This stuff right here, because everyone was like, the Miami Heat team is so inferior, and Jimmy Butler is just carrying them. And then when you watch the series unfold,
it wasn't true.
We are doing the same thing again.
No, Mars, because you just brought up. You just brought up. No, Mars, that doesn't work because you just no, Mars. The reason why that doesn't work. No, Mars, that doesn't work, and the reason why that doesn't work, Mars, you just said player B, his team is inferior to player A. So if the Golden State Warriors lose to the Cavs with James, that 17 team, how are we talking about player B, Mars? Because it's more than likely that player B outplayed.
It depends on the context. How did Kyrie play? How did Kevin Love play? What was Tyronn Lue's coaching adjustments? How did the Warriors play? Did Steph Curry just fold? Did KD just fold? Did Klay Thompson shoot 0% from three? Did the Cavs make tremendous adjustments? Did J.R. Smith shoot 100% from three on 9 attempts a game? What else happened in the series? The idea that we just have to simplify it to, well, this team is worse. This team is better on paper. LeBron James is the best player, and he managed to beat the more superior team. So that must mean LeBron James was the reason they won. No, like,
but wait, but Mark, let me ask you a question.
See how it happened. That stuff is right. When we were watching the Miami Heat play the New York Knicks, and we were watching the Miami Heat play the Boston Celtics, we could see it wasn't just Jimmy Butler. But then we would come on here every day and say it's just Jimmy Butler. We saw what Caleb Martin was doing. We saw what Eric Spoelstra was doing. We saw what Bam Adebayo was doing. We saw what Duncan Robinson was doing.
In the process of us doing that, hold on, stop right there, Mars. Because in the process of us seeing, no, Mars, because in the process of us, no, that's not true, Mars, because in the process of us seeing everything that Jimmy Butler was doing, what was everybody up here saying what Jason Tatum was not doing, what Jaylen Brown was not doing, what the Boston Celtics were not doing. And the reason why they were not doing that was because of Jimmy Butler. That was the logic. So don't make it sound like it was just that.
They were saying Jason Tatum was playing bad because of Jimmy Butler. They said Jaylen Brown was playing bad because of Jimmy Butler. They said the Boston Celtics shot too many threes because of Jimmy Butler. That doesn't make sense. Why do we keep saying everything is because of the opposing team's best player? The reason the Boston Celtics shot so many threes is because Joe Mazzulla, their coach, loves a team that shoots a lot of threes. And Jason Tatum loves to shoot a lot of threes. The reason why Jason Tatum struggled, especially in that game 7, is because he was hurt. That's not because of Jimmy Butler. Did he land on Jimmy Butler's ankle? I don't know. I don't think so. That doesn't mean it's because of Jimmy Butler. The reason Jaylen Brown turned the ball over 100 times in game 7 is not because of Jimmy Butler. It's because we know he can't dribble with his left hand. So the idea that we can watch these things unfold and then we just still, after watching it, still say it's because of the best player when we can see it's not, is stupid.
So Mars, so you want to sit here and just change the way that sports media talk about players? Is that your mission today?
Yes.
That's
okay.
That's why we're meant to be here. If we were meant to be just like ESPN, why are we here? If we're meant to be the exact same as everyone else, why are we here?
Not the exact same, but you can't blame people for having kind of like similar, like the. But you can't blame people for having a similar.
Why are they here and not watching ESPN? If we would just be ESPN, why would they not watch Stephen A. Smith? If we could just be Undisputed, why would they not watch Skip Bayless? If we're meant to be just,
are you Skip Bayless?
Why would you not do that?
That's why they watch because I do a great job and y'all are entertaining. But what I'm saying is, okay, look, so you brought up Jimmy Butler, right? But Jimmy Butler losing in a second final again, and with him being the Miami Heat's best player, what is now the narrative? You cannot win a championship with Jimmy Butler as your number 1 player. And that's what's going to come out of losing.
I understand Mars's point. Mars, I understand your point.
There's nothing wrong with blaming the best player because you're going to give them most of the credit.
I understand Mars's point. Mars, the problem that I'm having with your logic, where the divide is between you and me, is you're telling me that we can't put all the blame or all the praise on one guy. I definitely get that logic. Basketball is an individualized sport from time to time, especially when you're talking about winning. And when you're talking about winning, somebody's got to get the blame. And you want to change that narrative, right? You definitely want to change that narrative. So if we're changing that narrative, you know what else we have to do then, Mars? We have to stop individualizing these guys because you can't have it both ways. You can't have it where all the blame is taken off a guy and all the praise is taken off a guy, but then say, yo, this dude is the best player in the game. You can't have it both ways, Mars. No, you can't, especially if you're winning. You can't do that.
Jokic was the best player in the world, and he hasn't got to the conference finals in 3 years. I've separated the winning from being the best.
Meanwhile, he was on pace to do that, Mars. No,
you can't do it.
No, that's not true.
I understand player A is better than everyone else, despite the fact he's not winning, because I can understand there's multiple things that go into winning. I've been doing that for as long as I've been on this platform. You can't do it. That's fine. I've already accepted the fact that you're unable to do it. That's cool. You need to, you believe if you're the best player, it has to translate to wins at some point. You have to get it done at the highest level at some point. That's your belief.
I feel like that.
Cool.
I do.
And I've accepted the idea that you believe that. Me, I've been 1000% consistent on the idea that you can be the best player and not win. And the examples I go to all the time is Kevin Garnett in Minnesota. I never questioned how good of a player he was, even though he couldn't even make the playoffs on the Timberwolves in his last 3 years. I accepted that. I am capable of separating the wins and losses from the best player. Me, if you can't do it, cool. But the idea that because the mainstream media have always done it like this, we should continue to do it like this doesn't make sense, especially when we're trying to build our own platform being different from what they were. If the people in here wanted ESPN, they would watch ESPN. If we're just trying to be ESPN, there's no point of us existing. The 1,200 people in here aren't here for us to just do the exact same thing as ESPN do. If they were, they wouldn't be here watching us. There's no reason to watch us over ESPN that has 40 years of credibility over us. That wouldn't make sense.
It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys don't get it started. The player choice way. Yeah, the player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.